Hello and welcome to your Just Recruit training. In this video, we'll cover all the functionality the platform has to offer. The beauty of Just Recruit is its simplicity, so I'm sure you'll be up to speed in no time. So let's jump right in. Here we have your dashboard. From here, you have your main tabs along the top. You can track activities against target. Simply select the drop down to say what information you'd like to see. If you're a user in the platform, then you'll only be able to see data for yourself. If you're an admin user, you can choose to see it for other people or for everybody. Set yourself a date range, hit show me, and then the stats will appear in the graph. You'll see any reminders that you have set for the day here. We'll come on to that a little bit later. And then everything else is shortcuts to important or frequently used places. So anywhere that you see this teal colour, it's a link and it will take you to that part or that page in the system. So let's start with people and adding a person. So to add somebody, click on the People tab. Now the first thing to note here is that people are not separated out into candidates and clients or candidates and hiring managers as you may have seen in other systems. So the reason that we put the two together is a candidate can become a client and vice versa, or they may be both from the get-go. In other systems you have to create two separate profiles, one as a candidate and one as a client. But in the Just Recruit platform we don't think that makes sense, so we have created it in such a way that it's one profile per person, even if they are both a candidate and a hiring manager or client. So to begin with, to create a person, there's two different ways that you can do this. The first way is manual, and I'll show you that. So it's create a person on the side here. So you just start by entering your information. Now, any field that has a star beside it is a mandatory field, and you won't be able to create the record without completing that field. I'm just going to put some test text in here just to show you how information in the alert box displays. You can use it for all different things, but it's information that appears right at the top of a person's profile, so it can be used to put in important information that you don't want missed. Now, if Mickey was a hiring manager, obviously we would select this button here. Mickey works at Disney, and Disney is a company that's stored in the database. So if I start typing in this field here, you can see that a drop down that matches Disney appears there. If I wanted to record Mickey as working at a company that isn't stored in the database, then I would use this field here instead. So you just need to use one or the other. So we'll put in, even though we don't have to, it's good practice, so we'll put in the job title. And you can see here that we've got contract type permanent selected. Now, the fields that you've seen so far up to contract types, they come as standard in the system, but you can customize a huge amount from within Just Recruit. So you can add custom fields to people, company and job records, and that's what's been done here. So you can see that this hypothetical company want to track source, driving license, whether someone's passport has been seen, and qualification. So we'll come on to the customization bits a little bit later on. Now we do have GDPR related functionality. You do need to set this up, so from within your settings area there's the opportunity to add the content that you would want to use for this piece of functionality. But let's assume that that's all been set up with your business and you want to use it. So you would just select this button here before creating them, and then you would hit the create button. And then what would happen is an email would be sent that would look something like this. So it's a personalized email. This is the information that obviously we would enter from the settings area. So we would put, I would suggest a nice welcome message and then any GDPR related policies. If you want, we can put a link in here to your GDPR policy on your website if you'd like to drive traffic there, or if you just think it's a bit cleaner than sort of putting all of the text in. But either way, the person would review your GDPR policies. They would then click to confirm that they are happy. And then they're brought to this personalized holding page. And then I will sort of show you how the rest of that works in just a moment. So if we hit create, now straight away you're brought to the coding section. These are again completely customizable to fit your business. So the ones that you have might look a little different to this depending on what you have set up, but it's really easy to code somebody. Just click the drop down and then select any of the codes just by clicking the word or the box, any of the codes that are relevant. So now if we go back to the profile here and take a look at the codes, you can see there they are. So as you see, when you're first brought to somebody's profile, you have a few different menus and a tabbed area along the top here. Here's that information that we've got in the alert box. So as you can see, that's really, really nicely displayed in a way that it won't be missed. So if you've got somebody that perhaps was a no-show for interview, let's hope that doesn't happen, or there's some key information that you need your colleagues to be aware of, then you can just pop it in the alert box and that's how it will display. Now, straight away on a person's profile, you'll see that there is an overview. So this will give you all of the information and all of the interaction that's been had with this person. You'll be able to see which consultant has been speaking with them and what they've been talking about and any relevant information. Now, because the unique identifier works on on an email address, because I've used this email address in the past, you'll see that we've got various different bits of information here dating back. Obviously, if you're creating a brand new record, you wouldn't have that sort of history. So it's really easy to add an action. So you would just add an action on the side here, select whatever is relevant. Now, perhaps you spoke with Mickey and he's not interested in a move right now, but is open to doing so in a month's time. So in this case, you might want to record a note to say, not looking now, contact in 1 month. Now, there's a few different things that you can do when you record an action. As well as recording the notes, you can tag somebody else that's in the system. So this is really useful if perhaps you are speccing a CV. You can, select the hiring manager that you are speccing them to. So you could just say spec to CV, select the hiring manager, and then that will also pull through to the hiring manager's page as well. So you can see what, communication he or she has had. Let's just pop that back to phone call. The other thing that you can do is you can select a file. So if relevant, you can add a file. And then you can set yourself a reminder. So this effectively puts people into call cycles, and it means that you don't need to clog up your Outlook calendar or whatever calendar you're using with reminders. You can keep your calendar for appointments, and you can use the system to remind you for things. So in this case, we want to touch base with Mickey in 1 month's time. And then we're going to add that action. So now when you log in on that day, it will be on your dashboard reminding you to call Mickey in relation to this phone call. And it will also, you'll get a little reminder up here, like much in the same way as you would on sort of Facebook or LinkedIn, and it will tell you that you need to sort of call these people today. So you can see that that's dropped in there, and you can just have a look at the information to see more. The coding tab will just give you an overview of the codes that you have associated with the person. Longlist is any jobs that they've been added to. Interviews and placements as you would expect. It's really easy to add files. It's just add files on the side here. And then you can drag and drop if you've got it saved in your inbox or it's on your, on your desktop somewhere. If you do have it saved in a folder, then you just click this bar and then sort of go through the file paths to select the file that you want. You can have different file categories, so again, yours may look slightly different, but we'll talk about how you can customize those when we talk about the customization piece. and any files that you add will obviously just drop into the File tab. And then the second piece with GDPR, so what will happen is once that GDPR email is sent, you'll get a date and timestamp of when that original email was sent, and then you'll be able to see who did it. And then you will get a date and timestamp. Once the link has then been clicked, you'll get a date and timestamp to tell you when it was validated. So you've got that nice automated paper trail that shows that you have consent to, to hold somebody's data and to work with it in line with your GDPR policy. So the menu on the side here, overview just gives you a more detailed overview of than what you see on the on that front tab. So you can filter and see just specific types of interactions that you've had with somebody. Coding will take you back to the coding page that we originally saw when we were coding Mickey up initially. Registration details. So this is a series of free text boxes, and it's there to sort of capture information that you don't get on a CV. So really it's sort of those initial phone calls or that initial meeting when you can capture all of the bits and pieces that will be useful when trying to find a job to match them to, and it can be particularly useful information when you found that job for them and you're at the point of closing them. So this can also be really useful information for your colleagues to see. So, you can put in things here like their character and specific experience they have around people management, what they like, what they don't, etc. Not everybody uses this. The option is there. You certainly don't have to use it. The system's really versatile. So you may decide that you want to use the alert field for registration notes. You may want to create a custom action option called registration notes, and then you can just record it as an action. You could create a custom field. Some people will handwrite and then scan in, and then they'll create a file category that's registration notes. So depending on how you want to manage it internally, there's lots of different options. So you can add somebody to a job from their page. It means that you don't need to be in the job to do that, so just saves you on clicks. The system has been built with a minimal click mentality, so you should always be able to get where you need to go within just a couple of clicks. So if we start typing here, you can see that I can select that I want to add them to a job, add them, and then when we take a look later, they will be on there. So if you don't select that button when you the GDPR button when you first create somebody, you've got an option to do it further down the line. So you don't have to do it initially, but if you would like to do it at a later date, just select this button here on the side. And then you've got the option to move somebody to the trash. If you accidentally move somebody to the trash from this part of the system and then you realise that you've done that in error, an admin user will be able to recover them and roll them back. So that's how you would create somebody manually and a general overview of somebody's profile. Now, the second way that you can create a person is through the Import CV button here. So you can just simply, with a CV that you have, drag and drop it. It also works on LinkedIn profiles. You can export those to PDF and you can drag and drop that. Providing there is an email address in there, because that's the unique identifier that we use to prevent duplicates, so you can't create a record in the system without an email address. So providing the CV has an email address, you can just drag and drop it, and then the parsing software will scan through the document and it will pull out things like their name, their contact information, their current employer, their job title, and also if you leave this box checked here, then it will code them up as well. So if the parsing software finds any words or phrases that are associated to your codes, then it will code them up and it will automatically do that. It's always worth going back in and double checking and seeing what codes have been picked up, because sometimes some can be picked up in error, or that they're not really picked up in error, but it's just that they're not actually relevant for that specific code. So if that happens, you can just go back to the profile and very easily delete them out from the coding tab. So the other thing that you can do from the People tab then is your searching. So there's a few different elements to the search form. You have your standard search bar here. You can search across any of the information that you see there. And you can also do searches through all of your CVs. If you wish to do that, just select Files and use String Search, and then you can do a Boolean style search. So different words, brackets, and or you can use the word not to discount certain profiles, search for phrases. So you can do searching in this text box much in the same as you would in LinkedIn or on one of the job boards or CV libraries. You've got your standard search parameters around salary and location. Location is powered by Google Maps in the background, so is very efficient. And then you have the option to search for somebody that was added by a particular consultant, somebody that's looking purely for a specific contract type, or of course you can see whether you are trying to pull up just hiring managers or candidates, or any will of course give you both that match that criteria. You can see that there's a custom field in here. Again, we'll come on to that a bit later. And then you have your advanced coding section. So you can add as many rows as you like. It works on and or ruling. So it's and going across and or going down. So for example, if you were looking for somebody that was either a senior or a manager that worked in FMCG, or perhaps you're looking for somebody that has FMCG experience and retail experience. So this search would give you somebody that is matching the criteria of senior or manager with FMCG and retail. So you can layer your search up and then see what results you get. So this is how your search results will display. You'll be given the name, the company, job title and salary if applicable. If you add in location information, either a postcode or a town, then an extra column will appear here, and it will give you in ascending order the people that are closest to that location. You can reorder your search results by any of the criteria that you see here though. So the majority of your searches will be done when you have a live job that you're working on. So we'll come on to the applicant tracking part of the system in just a moment. But before we do, I'm just going to show you around what a company looks like. So as you can see, it looks slightly similar to a person. There's just far fewer fields. You create somebody in just the same way in terms of what we looked at when we were creating a person manually. Won't take you through all of the menus here. Many of them are pretty self-explanatory, but you can obviously see any actions that have been associated to anybody that is with the company. You can get a list of employees, see if they're hiring managers or not. These ones obviously aren't. See any jobs that you have, any interviews, placements, files you can add in, perhaps your signed terms in here. You have the ability to create sort of affiliate company style relationships. So if you have a parent company and you want to add affiliate or child companies to that organisation, then that's possible. You can mirror those organisational relationships within the system. Any information that you record as far as the address and the payment terms, any company benefits, this will automatically pull through whenever you create a job. We try to automate as much as we can in the system just to save you time, but there is always the ability to manually override. So say for example you always have 20% as standard with Disney. When you create a job, you may well have agreed 18% as a one-off fee, so you can override that within the job itself. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the applicant tracking part of the system, and that starts with jobs. So it's really simple to create a job. Very, very few fields that need to be filled in here. You'll see when a job is first created that a lead hiring manager is required.
Just go back into View Job and select a hiring manager, just from the drop-down list there. So there's a few different things that you can do from this section. So these are all of the main tabs and menus for the job itself. And the talent pooling section is what we refer to as the long list. So we'll come on to that in just a moment. So you can code your jobs every time you create a job. You do have the option to code it, and this can be useful if you want to pull up similar jobs in the, when you get a job on and you want to pull up similar jobs in the future, to have a look at the sort of the candidate pool that you put together for them. You've got an option to do that. Obviously, any interviews that you have or placements will drop straight in here. You can have multiple placements, so if you do have the same job but there is multiple vacancies, then you can just select that there. So once a placement's been made, you can continue to work against this this job. Again, you've got options to add files, so most likely to be a job description, and then any emails. This is emails that have been sent directly through the system against the job, so that would be any mail shots that you send, and also any interview confirmations. And I'll show you that in just a moment. And then applications, this tab here is for if you advertise the role, which you can do through the system to your company website. If somebody applies, then if they are in the system, the application will automatically tag to their record. If they are not in the system, you'll have the option to add them, but any applications that you get against the job will appear in this tab here. So Longlist, as I mentioned, is sort of where you will pull together your candidates. Job advert information, so if you just check that button there, then you can just select the information that you want to publish. Now you can, in the settings area, you can select which fields you'd like to be default selected, so you don't have to do it every time if you know it's the same ones that you want, but then you can again sort of turn it on and off on a by job basis. But if we just say, this is the information that we want to put in, actually probably want the company name, description, and contract type and job type. So you can always overwrite sort of what you have in the system for title, location and salary as what you have saved. You don't necessarily want going out and sort of being published to the internet. So you might want to say that you've got an IT manager at leading FMCG company. Location, you probably want to be a bit vague about this, so you could say, southeast. And salary, maybe you've been asked not to advertise the salary, so you can just say that it's competitive. So then you would put in your introduction, and then you would put in your main, sort of, the main body of the job description. So, and obviously you've got some formatting options here as well. And this gives you the option to sort of add a link. So we just hit update, and then if we go back and view the job, so include an API. This means that you want to push it up to your company website. So there's a couple of different options when it comes to this. Either you will be using one of our websites, which is a fully integrated website already with the platform. So you just simply check this button and then hit update. And then what will happen is that would automatically push the job through to your website. If you want to set a specific date range, then you can. Otherwise, when the job gets closed, it will automatically pull the advert down. Or if the job's still live, but you've got too many applications and you want to sort of take it down, then you can just uncheck that box while the job's still live, hit update, and it will pull the advert down. So a couple of different options there. Now, if you don't have one of our websites, then it's possible to integrate the Just Recruit platform with your company website. So we would just provide your web developer with the sort of information and credentials that's needed, and then you can push the adverts, as you just saw, the information that we put in, you can push that directly to your existing company website. So what I would say about that is if you have a web designer, then they might not have the technical know-how to do what is needed in the background to connect the two. If you are working with a web developer, then they definitely will do. So it's totally free of charge from our side, and then sort of it will be at your web developer's discretion as to how much they charge you to do it, but you've got that option there. Now, if you don't have one of our websites and you choose not to integrate with your existing company website, you'll have this page here that will always exist regardless of those things. So just select that button and hit update. You'll see that this sort of little menu appears here. So if we just copy this to clipboard. So now you can see, obviously we didn't put too much text in, so it looks a bit funny, but this is the advert, this is the information that we put in. You can see that people are able to apply, and obviously, as we mentioned, that will automatically be pulled through to the system. And so this is just an option for you to get an advert, so, you know, you can share the link with people. You can also push it up onto your social media platforms. So you can see here you've got LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. So you can just push it out to those platforms in a status update. Yeah, if you just click that button, it will automatically do that. You can add in extra text if you want to, and it will automatically link them to this advert. So it's a nice way to market the role. So that's the application piece. You have an activity feed. So again, similar to the activity feed on a person, any sort of actions or anything that's been recorded in the system that's associated to this particular job will appear here. You've got the option to add your files. You can add a note. So that's just some general information that you want to record that doesn't fit into any of the other sort of areas neatly. You've got the option to duplicate a job, and then you can also close it. So you just click this button, and then there's different options. You can customize these options as well, and then move to trash as you would expect. So that's sort of the main bits of the job itself. Now we're going to move over to take a look at the long list. So this is the applicant tracking part of the system. So you can see it's blank at the moment apart from the hiring managers pulled through. You just right click, and I can't stress this enough, it's a right click. So if you get into this page, into this section, you're on a long list and you can't figure out where to go, it's a right click, and that will give you your menu. So you can add an action here, and perhaps you took the brief and he wants CVs on Monday. So maybe you want to set yourself a reminder on Friday to get your shortlist together. So then you can set yourself a reminder there, and then add that action. And now obviously you can see that action's pulled through here. We can see the information, and it will also be pulled through to Adam's record, as well as the company record and the job record. So all of the information is tied together really nicely. Means you don't have to duplicate work. So then you want to start adding people to your long list, so you can start to whittle it down to a short list. So you're brought to that standard search form that we saw before, so it's exactly the same. So you put in your criteria. I will put in just a postcode, and then I'll do it blank just so you can see. And then you can see that we've got a couple of people that are right by, exactly at that postcode, and you can add some additional, you can see people here. You can reorder your search results by any of the criteria that you see here. So you might want to do it by, the last action logged against that person, or how recently they've been added. So you've got lots of different options there, and then you would just select the people either individually, or if you decide you want to have everybody, then obviously you can do that. If we just add a few people in and we think, yep, these are people that I'm going to be interested in for this search, you can, of course, before you add them to the list, you just click into them, then it will open up an extra tab, and then you can just have a look through and say, okay, is this person relevant? When was the last time they were spoken to? See whatever information you need to see, and then no, okay, yeah, actually this person isn't relevant, so I'm not going to add them, but I know that this person is. So you can then add those people to your list. So you can see you're now back in the long list, and these are the people on your long list that you want to start chatting with. So right click again for that menu. So you've got the options to add an action. So perhaps you spoke with this person and they are interested at 30k on 1 month notice. So then we can add that in there, and you can see again that information's pulled through. The other thing that you can do is you can mark somebody as unsuitable. So this can be really useful information to track, particularly if you are working on a job for a really long time. Not only is it useful information for you to look back on internally, either for yourself or for your team members, as to perhaps where are the trends, where can you look that you haven't, what's going wrong with this search. It can also be really useful information to share with your clients. So it's one thing if you say that they're not paying enough, for example, but it's another thing if you've got the data there that's speaking for you to say all of these people are declining the role, all of these people that would you would be interested in, they're declining it purely based on salary. So it's really useful information to track there, and again you can customize these options, but what we have is fairly standard. So if we hit update, you can see if somebody has been sort of marked as unsuitable, then this is how they will appear. Now you've got the option to drag people around, so if you're a visual person, if you just like things in order, this can be really nice. We've also got some colour coding options. The colours can mean whatever you want them to, so again whatever you agree internally, or if it's just how you want to manage it yourself, and so you've got that option there. You have the ability to do something called a quick add. So this is really useful if you want to include somebody on your search that isn't in the database and you don't want to add them yet, either because you don't have enough information or you don't know if they're going to be relevant, or maybe you just don't have enough time to add them right now, but you need to include them in your search. Could well be that you have got a headhunt target. Could well be that you found somebody on a CV library, wherever they've come from. You're not ready or you don't have time to get them in the system right now. You can put in whatever information you do have. So if you just put here, perhaps you put in a LinkedIn URL, but just add in whatever information you can. And then you'll see that this is how they appear. So you can still add actions, you can still set reminders, but this person, John, is not in the database, so he's not going to come up in any searches. You're not wasting time adding him if he's not going to be relevant. But if he is a headhunt target, perhaps you can say that you called in the office and then you can set yourself a reminder to give him a call in 2 weeks' time when he's back from holiday. So it's really useful to use the quick adds. It means that you don't have to spend time adding people that aren't relevant, but also prevents you from needing to use a spreadsheet. We've tried to have it so everything is in one place for you. So you don't want to have one spreadsheet with your headhunt targets and then separately you've got your sort of relevant people that are already on the system. This gives you the chance to just keep everything together and sort of organise yourself a bit better. So you've got that quick add option there. You can export. So before, when I was talking about being able to share the list with a client, if you click export, it will just push it out into an Excel spreadsheet. So you can see how many people have been approached, how many interviews you've had, the reasons why. If you've marked a lot of people as unsuitable, you can see all of the reasons why, or the colour code status as well. So that can be a really useful thing to do. Perhaps as well, if you're onboarding somebody, you can sort of use it for those purposes as well, to sort of give them feedback on the people that they've got on their list without sort of adding notes onto the system directly. So you've got the option to send mail shots. So sending mail shots is done, while it's done directly through the system, we use a third party for our mail shots. So if you are wanting to use the mail shots, then you need to sign up for a SendGrid account. We do have a separate video on how to do that. If you haven't already done it, then you can check that out. Assuming that's already been done, you would just select the people that you want to send the mail shot to. So perhaps at the end of the day, you want to send a job description to all of the people that you've spoken to and that have expressed interest. So just over on the side here, more actions. We want to send a mail shot to their personal email address because we are sending this to them as candidates, and then hit apply. And then you can see that you've got, you can put in your subject here, it will send a personalised email, and then obviously you can just add in whatever information you want, attach the job description if you want to, and then hit send. And then obviously that's going out in a BCC fashion, so obviously they're not going to see who else has been sent the email. And then any responses that you get, any replies, will come directly back to your regular inbox. And so you can see a record of any mail shots that have been sent right here. You've got the option to add consultants. So when you first create a job, there's an option, it defaults to you, whoever's created it, as the lead consultant. You can set it as somebody else, but the job is then locked to that lead consultant in terms of being able to edit it. If you want other people to be able to edit it, then you just simply would add a consultant, and yep, I want my colleague Winston to be able to edit my long list. And now you can see that Winston's here, so he'll be able to do all of the things that I can do on the job. So another useful tool that you have is the ability to send an interview confirmation directly through the system. So right click again for the menu and add interview. So you just select the interview type, something that you can customize once more. We've got some standard ones here. And the hiring manager will automatically pull through. If you have more than one hiring manager, you can add additional hiring managers, and then you can obviously change from the drop down and add the relevant one. And then you just set the date of your interview time, and then you can put any internal notes that you want to make that won't be sent to the candidate. Maybe set yourself a reminder to do interview prep. And then add the interview. So then you're brought through to this page. Now, not everybody likes to send interview confirmations and send emails through the system. So if you don't want to do that, then you absolutely don't have to. Just simply click on the X and it will go away, but it will still log the interview. If you do want to send it, then obviously you can see that it's sort of pre-populated with the information here. It's pulled through what information it can from the system, things like, date, time that you've put in, the address, of course. But you can obviously edit this as you see fit. And you can attach the job description if you wish, and then just hit send, and then a copy of that email will be sent to Ronald, and you'll be able to see a copy of that on his profile as well. So let's say that Ronald had a successful interview and he was offered and then accepted the job. So if you just right click, and then you can make placement. So you just fill in the relevant information. And you can see that the placement fee calculator has calculated the amount due. It's positive assumptive, it will take the top end of the salary. Perhaps that wasn't achieved, and you can see as you change that there, the fee amount will change in line with that. Now, you don't need to set yourself a reminder for when the person is starting, because the system will automatically notify you of that for the day that they start. You might want to set yourself a reminder perhaps for a few days before to just ping them an email or a text to wish them good luck. The other thing that the system will automatically notify you of is an interview when an interview is taking place. So we'll come on to the notifications in a little bit. So if we just add the placement. Now, when a placement is first made, you'll see that it is not confirmed. Once a placement has been made, it can't be undone. This is to ensure integrity of data. So it needs to be confirmed by an admin user. It can be accessed from lots of different places, but you would just click into, as an admin user, click back into the placement. Just double check that all of the information is accurate, and then confirm and update the details. And now you can see that that's confirmed. So that's really how you would go through and sort of manage a job, from registering it, managing your advert, pooling your candidates, through to interview and placement. So the other piece of functionality that we have that is related to jobs is what we refer to as our pipeline. And this will just show you all of the jobs that you have. You can see what stage each job is at and how much potential revenue you have at each stage. And you can see sort of which candidates you have, and again, what stage they are at. So it's really, really useful to just be able to see on a glance exactly what you've got going on as a manager or a director director, you're able to see for individual consultants, but also across the business. There is also a field on a job itself. If we go back into the job here, you can see that there is a field for the month that you think the fee is likely to land. So if we think that this, if you were to place it, you would place it next month. Now, if we just go back into the pipeline view and refresh, you can now see that you've got that revenue sitting in there against that job. So you can use it as a forecasting tool, which is really, really useful, particularly if you are sort of running teams through the system. So now we're going to move on to the project section of the system. So a project is really similar to a long list, as you will see here. So you've got the options to add people and track activity against them. The difference with the project is that it's not associated to a specific job. So if you want to just think of it as an area to group people together and track activity against, it could be where you send your mail shots from. So if you want to send a mail shot that isn't associated to a job, then you can sort of just get together a list of all the people you want to mail shot and send a mail shot. You can do reverse recruitment, so you can put all of the hiring managers that you want to spec one candidate to, and then you can send a mail shot to those hiring managers with that candidate's CV. You can use it for your hot candidates, for your target clients. If you've got a job that you think is coming on, but you're not certain, so you don't want to register the job just yet, but you do want to start pooling candidates for it, create a project, start putting your candidates together in a list, and then as and when the job comes live, you can copy this list over to a jobs long list. So lots of different options. You could also use it to track your leads. So there is the option with customization for changing the action options. So I'll show you how to do that just now. So if we go into the settings area, now this icon will only appear if you are an admin user. But if you just click that, now when I want an additional tab to open, and I don't want to sort of overwrite the tab that I'm in, I just hold down the control key when I click on a link or an area, and then it will make sure that it brings up a new tab instead of just replacing this one here. So that's what I did there. So we'll come back to some of the bits here in a moment, but we want to track our leads using projects. So the way that you would do that is we come down to the customization section and for actions, and we want to customize the project actions. So you can see we've got some pretty generic ones here. I'm going to create one which is lead. So found one, and then perhaps there was a lead. And then we can create another action. And so on and so forth. So, I've just put 4 in here. You can have as many as you like. Also, something to note, whenever you see these arrows in the system, it means that you can slide things around and change the order of them. But I think this order makes pretty good sense at the moment. So what we'll do then is if we just go back here and we refresh, and then again, right click for that option to add for the menu, add action, and now you can see you've got these different options here. So you could create a project, call it leads, and then you can sort of pop your information in here, whatever's relevant, record the action, and use the color coding, and on a glance you can see where you're at with with the leads. And again, it's just a nice place to track them that's from within the system, so you don't need to have a separate spreadsheet or a list scribbled down, or however you've been managing it to this point. The functionality for a project is very similar to a long list. You've got that quick add functionality. You can add other editors from within the business. You can duplicate and again you can export and of course send those mail shots. So that's the project part of the system, and just remember it's really versatile because of those action options. We've had customers that have used it to manage events that they've been running. If they've sent an invitation, if they sent a second invitation or a reminder, if somebody's accepted, if somebody's declined, again you could just customize those action options and have event and then whatever the individual status is. So lots that you can do with a project, but just think of it as an area to group people together, track activity against. So the help button here, this just takes you to our online help desk. So you've got comprehensive user guides, step-by-step instruction for how to do pretty much anything and everything. If you can't find what you're looking for, then you can just search the term here. If that still isn't turning up any results and getting your query resolved, then just log a ticket and then a member of our team will be in touch to help you out. So I'm just going to bring your attention to this top ribbon up here. So if we take a look, this is all of the user specific settings. So let's take a look at profile settings to begin with. So you can see you've got some basic information here. This is information that pulls through to your signature. You've got this notifications section, so you can basically opt in or out to receive notifications as and when these things happen. So if somebody makes a placement and you want to know when one of your colleagues or team members makes a placement, then just keep that button checked, and every time that happens in real time, you'll get a notification up here that will tell you that so and so has created a placement, and then you can go in and have a little look. So my activity, this is just a sort of chronological timeline of different things that you have logged in the system. Using it for yourself, you probably won't look at this too much, unless perhaps if you have a bad memory like I do, then you might speak with somebody and then a week later a job comes up and you cannot for the life of you remember their name, so you can just scroll back through and say, okay, I know I spoke to them last Tuesday, let me have a look and see, and then you'll be able to find that, oh, okay, I had a phone call, it was Mickey Mouse, that's who's going to be great for this job. But really the other thing that it's useful for is if you are onboarding somebody and you, particularly if you're working remotely, but even if you are in the same office space, you can have a look at this as an admin user. You can have a look at somebody else's activity. So that new starter that you're onboarding, you can see exactly how they're moving through the system and see their activity and perhaps identify any training needs. Profile picture, this will just change the image that appears here, so obviously completely at your discretion as to what you'd like to put in there. You could put your company logo in to effectively brand it, but equally you might want a picture of something else, so it just gives you the option to change that, and then change password is pretty self-explanatory. So here we have your reminders home page. So sort of on the dashboard and up here you'll get any reminders that you have set for the day. But if you want to see anything that you've got coming up, or you want to change your view to see anything that's overdue or anything for the coming week, then you can change the view by using this filter here. You can also create generic reminders from here and from the dashboard. So as you're moving through the system, a lot of the time that you are you've got the option to create a reminder, it's always associated to a specific person, whether you're recording an action or an interview or a placement. But if you just want something really generic, like I want to make sure that by the end of the month I've checked in with all of my placed candidates, or I'm going to schedule in business development for different areas for different times, then you can use the generic buttons both here and on the dashboard. And then once you have completed something, just click the tick, and then there you go, you can see that's now going to be pushed into your completed items. So the final piece then, which we popped into a moment ago, which is the settings area. So once again, if you are just an admin user, if you are just a user, you won't see this icon. It's worthwhile you having a look perhaps though at this section, because when we're talking about the bits that you can customize, you may have ideas about how you want to customize the system. As as a user, you're in the system all day, every day. So you have some very generic bits and pieces here. So we've got company information. So this is just basic information that will be pushed through to sort of various different places. If you use the invoicing sort of functionality that we have, then fill this information in. If you don't use it, then you don't need to put anything there. And then the same with the GDPR email content. If you're using that functionality, then this is where you would put that content in. If you choose not to, then you can just ignore it. And if you do connect your account to your your company website, then you can have job application terms and conditions. And so any information that you want there, again, just pop in here. So that's all pretty straightforward. Go back to the settings. So users, we as sort of administrators will create new users for you, but what you can do is you can go in and you can change somebody's level. So as an admin user, you can say, actually, I don't want this person to be an admin anymore, or I want this user to become an admin. So you've got the option to do that there. Bulletins. So this just simply changes the message that you have flashing up on the top here. So this will appear in every user in your company's on their account. It can be used as a reminder for things, something motivational, whatever you would like to use it for. You've got the option, and you can create multiple bulletins. And yeah, so it's just a nice way to sort of fire a quick message, make people aware of things as they're logging in. Trash can, so this will just show you anything that has been deleted from the system. So initially when it's deleted, it is what we would refer to as a soft delete. So if somebody has deleted something in error, it means that an admin user can come into this trash can in the settings area and then just click this button here, and that will roll it back. So that will effectively reinstate it. If you've got data that you do absolutely want deleted, then you can just empty the trash, or you can delete it from here on an individual item basis. As I mentioned before, when we do have some invoicing functionality, so if you are using something like Xero or Sage or any kind of invoicing software, then you needn't worry about this. But if you are creating them manually, then you don't need to anymore, because every time a placement is generated in the system, an invoice is created. So you can see the placement that we made earlier on. We just click this button here, that will download it. And then if we just open that up, you can see it will pull information from various different bits that you have saved. So from the company information, as in your own company information, which this would normally be your address and contact information, and then the company that you have placed to, and then the important information. So if you are doing them manually, it just means that you can have them automatically created through the system. You've got a general overview of your placements and your interviews, anything that has been imported into the system, and anything that has been exported. So you can export various different lists. If you create a project, or if you want to export your long list, it is possible to do these things, but only as an admin user. So obviously that's just to protect the data that's in the system. So if you are a user and you want to scoop up a load of email addresses, or you want to push something out into an Excel spreadsheet, just add an admin user onto the project, and then they or the long list, and then they will be able to go in and do the export. But as an admin user, you've got sight of anything that's being pushed out of the system. And then if you do have it connected for registrants and applications, then you will see a list of these here. So, well, we don't have anybody that's registered, but if somebody does register, then it will just have their name. It will tell you whether they are a candidate in the system or not. If they are, it will link you to their profile. And then you can go in, if they're not already registered, then of course you can go in and sort of create a profile based on the information that has been provided. And if they've registered with a CV, then that will automatically attach to the record as well. And then with applicants, you can see here We had somebody apply to this job here, Adam, who is already in the system, so we can view his profile, and then you can see that you've got a couple of different people. So this person has applied but hasn't attached a CV, and then we've got Jackson Michael who has applied to the job, and they've also attached their CV. So you can go have a look at the CV. If they're relevant, add them in as a candidate, and all of that information will automatically transfer over. So that is the applicants piece. And now we're on to the customization bit. So these are all the various different parts that you can customize. So at the moment we have all of these countries available, but it may well be that they're not all relevant. So you can just simply delete the ones out that aren't. If you want to add additional countries, then you can just use that button there.
So I've mentioned a couple of times that you can create custom fields, and you can do this against people, company and job records. So you can see here some that we already have created, but let's create a new one. So now if we go into somebody's record, you'll see that we now have a custom field for driving license and the options that we put in. So it's that easy to create custom fields. Coding is done very much in the same way. So if we take a look here, you can see you've got your coding categories. So you can add and remove coding categories as you need to, and it's really easy to also add the codes that sit within them. So if we create a coding category here, and perhaps we want to call it skills, and we want it to sit across people. If we go into the skills codes, we can add some. And again, you can see if we just go back to a person's profile and refresh, and we head over to coding, you can now see that you've got a skills category and the codes that we put in. And then everything else that you see here is just areas that you can customize. So have a play around and just get the system as tailored to your business and your workflows as much as possible. So that concludes your training. I hope that you have enjoyed it. Thanks for your time today. Bye bye.